Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Chel. Hope you guys had a great weekend. It was the first weekend I've had since the launch of the game in which I wasn't tied to my desk with my subathon ending this week. So I had a great time with my family and just kind of relaxed a little bit. That being said, we need to discuss a ton of things that happened on Friday. Specifically, like the big talk was the +6 overall line chemistries and all of the fallout from it and really what it means. So I thought I took in all of the comments on the rankings video I did. If you haven't seen the video I put together, it essentially, I went through and I just looked at every card and where they fit in other line combos so that if you guys are making master set player items, spoiler alert, make Sidney Crosby before the event is done. I wanted you guys to make sure you're aware, hey, don't trade in these 83s or 81s just yet. Make sure that you don't have the ability to use them in far better line combos that would help your team out. So I have a video that goes all the way through that. It was really well received, and I'm happy that it's helping out some people. That being said, I went through all of the negative and positive and all of the comments in general, as well as on my Twitch channel. And I want to go through the pros and cons of releasing line combos that have the potential to get the +6 overall. Now, +1 overall, I've talked about this since the start. It's really nothing. It would be the only way that I would really go after a +1 overall line boost is if it was for a tiebreaker. So if I had two cards that I really wanted, one of them would fit into this +1 overall boost, one would not. I would just, whatever, you know what I mean? Like that would be the only situation. I'm not hard trying to find +1 overalls. Now, the +2s, I do think that you do feel a little bit of a difference there. Obviously, +3 is even more than that. +6 is like you're playing a different game. And that obviously has major implications because the line combos aren't half speed. It's not like normal progression. It's literally just +6 across the board, which I do like. It makes things far simpler. And it's just far more important than any AP boost or any salary cap boost. I still think that you need to sewer your fourth line probably for AP or salary, more than likely salary. But that being said, let's go over some of the pros and cons. All right, I'm going to start with the pros first, and then we'll get into the cons of it. Okay, number one, it's something to chase after. Okay, it is with the event coming out and them releasing it before the event was done. It's not like this came out on, if this would have come out on the Thursday, right before the event ended, I mean, good Lord. The fact that it came out on the Friday and we essentially have a week to try and access as much as possible for the remainder of the season. I do like that. There is something to chase after. It makes every event card viable. So one of the things that I have found that is a positive from the content this year is that almost every card that comes out has some usefulness to somebody. All right. If you go back and look at any of the content releases from NHL 21 or NHL 22 before the content, from a community standpoint went downhill. If you look back to those games, they would release 50 cards 5 days a week. Maybe 3 of them every day would make a team for a player that plays pretty regularly. Okay, even not regularly, like even, you know what I mean? Like they're outside of theme team players that are just like, I want this 81 overall Mario Ferraro because I only use Sharks. There just really was so few cards that were usable because what they did was if they were releasing a new card, it was just +2 overall from the prior one. And it didn't matter if it was a 77 overall CHLer. If that CHLer got a team of the week item, it would go up to 79, right? Like that's how it worked. And it was a lot of stuff. None of it was of substance. This, is far different. Like, every card you look through, some of them don't. All right, I'm going to make that clear. Not every card is great. But if you look at the 83 overalls from this team of the week, for example, there's quite a few that are quite usable for the player that is just casually playing the game. They fit into line combos, things like that. And when it comes to events, usually, 85% of event items, if you were to go back and look up the last few games, are not going to be on your team once the event is done. And really, it was just outside of the master set player items. There'd be like 3 or 4 cards that would be way too expensive to get in the auction house. All the other ones were literally just objective fodder. It was just cards you throw in your lineup to either make a set to get a master set player item or throw into your lineup to complete objectives to get stuff for that event, right? The way that the +6, or I don't even want to say the +6, the +3 overall line combos made almost every face-off card valuable. Like, at least you had to go and look, right? And I think that is a positive because every content release, it's not just I look at these few cards and it's like, oh, whatever. Because they aren't just cards that would go into the auction house. You can make them. Like, you can make 81s, you can make 83s. You can't make them specifically, so you're not guaranteed to get the card you want, but you have a shot at it, right? It's far different than when a new game break bad example. When a new transaction card comes out and they have that 80 overall transaction set, technically you can make it. You're not making it. You're not getting the card you want. At least in this one, you've got a pretty decent shot at pulling something of value because every face-off card fits into all of these new +3 overall boosts, right? And like I said, the multiple ways to get it, I kind of like, right? Like, so you've got the objectives, you finish the objectives, you'll get an 83 overall. So it could be, you don't know what the 83 is, but it could be something that you really need. For example, any of the right-handed defensemen that can go with Paul Coffey, for example, or some of the 83s are really valuable. Off the top of my head, I believe Jack Drury can fit into multiple +5 and +3, and I think a +6 overall line combo. So again, there's multiple ways to get them, and I think that's good. All sets have value as well. So for years since or I guess 2 years that they've put in the account-bound sets, very rarely are those account-bound sets ever worth doing for the 30 collectibles, right? Now, man, you got to, like, I'm not going to lie. I'm saving all of my collectibles, and I'm probably throwing them into, once I get Crosby, I'm throwing them all into that because you've got a 11 out of 12 shot to pull something that you can use. The Reinhardt is really rough. That would be a bad one, but it's a choice pack 1 of 2. So you know that you're not ending up with Reinhardt, right? So that's also a pretty big bonus from these new line combos coming out. And it really just feels like a refresh of, okay, now we had the content drop of like icons and Gartner and all of that. And it was very specific because they released that one line combo. And it's like, okay, you've got to get Gartner, you've got to get McDavid, you've got, whether it's base or captain, and you've got to get Lindros, right? Like that was it, right? And there was a few other ones that were niche, but for the most part, it was that one. This one is other than Crosby, there's multiple options, right? So, those are the pros. Let's get into the cons. Obviously, if you aren't a hardcore player, you're gonna run into the 92s. You're gonna run into the +6. I did Hut Champs this week, on stream and off stream, and I would say that a very small section of the player base actually can make a +6 lineup. Okay, but if you were to take the 1% of the players that could, I would say probably 70% of that 1% are in the competitive online space. They're going to be the ones that you're going to go up against in champs, or in rank that's in gold and above. And if you fall into that bucket, you're going to go up against them a lot. So for this Hut Champs run, I didn't rush out and blow everything that I had to make any of the +6 or even the +3 lineup other than Coffee, because it was very easy for me to do that. I was just going to wait and see what comes out because we're going to get 2 more content release days before the end of the week. So there's a chance that they come out with another American-born Vegas Golden Knight, or for example, right? Like something that would really allow us to get these things activated. Now, number 2, I don't know if this is a con, but I have a feeling that what they're doing is a soft progression reset. So what I mean by that is if you played MLB The Show, I know I bring that up a lot on my channel, but it is a perfect correlation here. So sets and seasons in MLB The Show were an attempt by San Diego Studios to rework how Ultimate Team is done in its entirety. If you didn't play MLB The Show, it worked like this. You started with, let's say the high cards were 88 overall. Launch of the game, 88 overall. There was a few 99s, but 99s work different in MLB than they do in NHL. And for the 2-month season, you would get cards released every week, and they would slowly get up all the way to 99, meaning that the last week of the game of that season, you were earning 99 overall cards. Now, here was the issue. Once Season 2 kicked over, you could only use like one Season 1 card in your lineup as like a wild card, right? So you had to restart and do it all over again. I think if it was 6 months, that might work. I talk about Tarkov a lot as well. Tarkov is a game where it wipes your entire account every 6 to 8 months, and you would think that would be awful, but it breathes like this, like, yeah, man, everyone's on an even playing field, let's go. It's like relaunching the game, and MLB did it at such a fast pace that it just exhausted the player base. So NHL is going a sets and seasons format, but they are not stopping progression, meaning that they are not. From Season 2, when it drops, icons will probably be 88 overall. And by the end of Season 2, it will probably 89 or 90 overall, and so on and so forth. So the progression to 99 is all year long, and it doesn't matter the season. However, this +3 with a potential to make a +6, they know that there was a way to make a +6. I mean, they're not like they know, and I have a feeling it's to artificially bring the overall of the player base up high, and then when season 2 kicks off, the amount of people that have no idea that line combos reset is going to push so much of the casual player base away the first time it's done. I promise you this, because there is a lot of players, the Mike and Indianas, if they're not watching my channel or someone else's that's bringing it up constantly, on November 16th, I think it is, everything resets. We get all new line combos. You've spent 2 months building this team, and it probably is not going to fit in Season 2's line combo list, right? So what they can do is, as the season goes along, they release +3s with the potential of the +6. Do you think that we get +4 overalls or +5 overalls as we get closer to the end of the season? I think that's what they're doing. I think that's what they're doing. And I think that that at least protects the player base that can't always have the best cards, because one of the biggest issues we're running into is we can't go back and make old master set player items. In prior games, NHL 23 or 22, I think it was 23, you could make every master set player item once the event was done. If everyone could go back right now and make Jack Eichel, the +6 is everywhere. And I don't think that's a good thing. I think that would lead to the negatives that we saw with the icon combo, where it was like Lindros, Gartner, McDavid. Everyone's running that line prior to this event now, right? Everyone's running that line. Everyone complained. Everyone's got the same team. If you can go back and make old MSPs, what do you think is going to happen, right? However, that means that if you didn't take part in that event and you didn't get lucky that they dropped that, you're kind of SOL. And that's unfortunate, right? I think this is more of just a lesson that account-bound items or making master set player items that you get for free, with your time, is important, because you want to make as many as you can, because you never know when a Jack Eichel is going to come up that gets you a +6 overall. And I think that really is a philosophy change that's probably going to take more than a game for the general population of the player base to really let that sink in, because we have been taught to, once the new hotness comes out, everything is expendable. That is the old toys. The old MSPs, gone. They're boring to me. They don't do anything. In this new format, that Jack Eichel probably wasn't in your lineup anymore. But if you kept him and didn't trade him in for something, you just got a 92, right? Like or a 91. And that's a lesson that I'm really trying to learn as well. So even when there's an event you don't want to make a master set player item, to shoot your shot, right? Like the marquee event was a perfect example. There wasn't really any good cards, and then they came out with that salary thing where having multiple or having just at least one was huge, and I ended up with 3, right? And I don't like when they release the line combos right before the event ends. I think that's kind of scammy, but it also means that everyone might end up with the same cards if you do it right at the beginning. So, it's a delicate balancing act, but I think that's what's going to happen with progression. I think that we're going to see even bigger line combos come out over the next few weeks before Season 2 resets. Last thing, a lot of yapping, but it's a whole weekend I have of thoughts saved up, so bear with me before we get into your comments from the last video. I played this game so much over the month that I was live streaming. Also, no complaints from there. That I'm blessed for my community being as generous they are. I got to the top 150 on the entire Twitch platform of subs. Incredible. And so I am not complaining with the amount I had to play. Like that's silly, right? But like anything that you do, if you spend 1,000 hours in a month on a video game, on a book, on a whatever, right? On a new hobby, it's going to lose its fun. So take my comments with a grain of salt and understand that I have the self-awareness to know that I played the game unlike anyone else. I'm actually, to be honest with you, there's people that I ran into that probably played the game more, and I don't even understand how. But nonetheless, I played Champs yesterday off stream because I just need to get to 10 wins. I had an extra collectible from the prior week. I like opening up those mega packs because they actually give decent value. So I need 12 collectibles. 10 win gets you 11, but I had one left over from last week. So I just need to get to 10 wins. And I played a few games. I started like 9-3. And 3 games in a row, I got down a couple early. I only had an hour and a half, so I just exited out, right? Which is no big deal. But then I got into a couple games where I knew that I was better than my opponent. I'm sure that we're all that have played the game for a long time. You know when you're better than your opponent, or at least when you stand a chance, like when there's a pretty strong chance that you're going to win. And I gotta say, I don't know if this is just me becoming old and less skilled at the game, which is going to happen to everyone. Everyone that is 18 years old right now or 21 and you think that you are the best in the world or that you're just shit doesn't stink and you're just incredible, you're going to get worse. It is just going to happen. You're going to get responsibilities. You're going to grow up. You're going to get a girl. You're going to have less time. And it is not going to matter nearly as much. I promise you that. And I think that all of that to say, even though I play this roughly the same amount as I used to in the past, I'm just getting worse at the game. And I have no problems with that. However, every year there is a meta. And this isn't just NHL. Every video game for the last, well, any online game since the start of online video games, there is a meta. There is this is the best way to get the best possible results in the most effective manner possible. For every single video game, that will never change. And we are in the information era. You come to my channel or someone else's channel, and you're going to find out the best way to do that, right? Whether it's team building, strategies, all that stuff. And I have found that the complete inability to play defense in this game has driven me to the point where I'm just not enjoying it. And what's funny is that in years past where I've lost games a lot and haven't been as good as I should, and I'm losing, so, I want to blame everything else. I can look at what I'm doing, and if you watch my streams, when I got to Platinum 1, and when I was struggling in Gold 3 and 4, I was watching my games back, and I was going through, like, frame by frame as to what I was doing in certain situations, and lo and behold, it helped. And I got better, and I got the Platinum 1, right? There are instances that happen on defense that I simply, watching my gameplay back, cannot understand. I cannot comprehend. I don't know button-wise what to do. And I don't want to blame it on ping because I think that's a cop-out. There are instances where ping definitely is involved. Losing a face-off when you've done the counter, for example, is a frustrating one, especially if it leads to a goal. But that being said, I don't know what it is about poke checking, and I do know that stick lifting just doesn't work from a mechanical standpoint in the game, because your opponent's stick will get there. If someone's stick gets stick lifted, they don't have a penalty where they can't touch the puck. It immediately goes back down, and your player who did the stick lift can't get their stick back down fast enough. That's what's happening. If you go and look at it, that's what's happening, and it needs to be patched or fixed, or it's probably just going to be ignored for 2 years, and then eventually they'll fix stick lifts. In 25, stick lifting was awesome. If you got inside body positioning, it was a completely effective way to strip people of the puck and go on an odd man rush, and I did it all the time. So this year, sitting in the slot, when I match up against someone good and they're ripping around my zone, and I sit there and I'll be on stream sometimes and I'll be like, I'm going to just have to sit here, guys, because there is nothing to do other than incidental contact. And that's frustrating because if that was the same, then I should be able to do the same thing, but I don't have the same capabilities, thumb skill wise, to rip around an L2 and all sorts of stuff to play keep away in the offensive zone. I get too impatient. I just want to play. I just want to play something that resembles hockey. I want to make passing plays. I want to cycle around the zone to something that resembles it. And I just don't get it this year, because what ends up happening is if you want to cycle around the zone and you run into someone who is just parking the bus, and I mean centerman in the slot, you can't get in the middle. You can't make a pass through the middle. You can't pull someone out of position and then get in there. Like, it is just not a thing. And I've really, yesterday, I played a couple games. I got my 10th win, and I was like, man, the game I won, I was like, man, this just wasn't fun. And that's unfortunate. I'm still going to play the game. I'm not going to say, God, this is it, cancel it. It's just, this year's meta, not for me. Last year's meta of everyone could just hammer D to D one-timers was frustrating, but I could at least, it was actionable. I could literally take my winger and go and stand and park his ass right at the point, and the amount of times that people would just force it through and I'm going a breakaway was unbelievable. I really didn't get scored on D to D one-timers that much. But it was obviously, there was less of a skill gap in that game, because even if you were someone that wasn't very great, if you just got an open one-timer, like, it was going in, right? So I understand that. This year's game, God, defensively, it is just so boring isn't the right word. It is simple, and I don't feel good about a play I made. And that's frustrating. And I don't really know what it is to say about that because everyone complains about gameplay every year. But I will say that my standpoint is offensively, I've really enjoyed it for the most part up until now when everyone knows to sit in the middle, right? Like everyone knows if you're in gold and above, and even if you're silver, you're going to sit in the middle defensively because even if you could and you were good at poke-checking and positioning, for the most part, you don't want to risk it because half the time it doesn't work. And that's unfortunate, right? You just sit there and you wait for a block shot. So that is what it is. Let's get into the questions from the last video or the comments from the last video. We'll start up top. I'll make this a little bigger here for you guys. Ben says, hey, Sleeves, just wanted to bring an issue to your attention. Not sure if anyone else has experienced this with XP card tokens. After making Crosby, I decided I would use Will Smith as my American for the +3 line. In order to do so, I needed to downgrade XP Demko so I could use my tokens on Smith. When I did that, I got him down from 83 to 81, then received an error that crashed out and booted me back to the main menu. I reopened HUT, Demko was an 82, but I had 6 tokens in my inbox, the amount I should have after fully downgrading him from 83 to 80. I thought, that's weird, but I sent them to my collection and tried to upgrade Smith from 81 to 82. This triggered another error, booted me back to the main menu. I opened up HUT again, was able to upgrade Smith to an 82, so now 85 with Chem Boost. Went and upgraded, all my tokens were now gone, Demko was back to an 83. So I tried to refund again, got an error that crashed HUT, loaded back in, Demko is now an 80, Smith is an 82, my tokens are still gone. He says, update, I waited out in the midst of typing this, my tokens magically reappeared, although I think I'm still missing one. I wanted to point this out. So over the last few weeks, there is a data leak or something's going on where this game's memory is just slowly seeping out. And what has happened is if you make a set or send things to your collection or whatever, the game sometimes will take 10 minutes for it to reappear. If you ever get into an instance where you make a set or there's a situation where a card should appear in your collection or your inbox, right? And it doesn't show there, you got to wait 10 minutes. It's coming. It's literally just so backed up and slow that it is it's not showing up immediately, which is a disaster. So DP says, first time doing online in NHL. Is it broken? I started in ranked and went 12-4-1, made it to Silver 2 promotion game. Then played champs, lost like 8 straight. I can't check, I can't body check. Guys just walk through my team with no deke and score on everything. I will be getting chance after chance and just get robbed, fan on shots, post, literally shooting in tight and almost nothing, and it going in almost 90% of the time. I then went to ranked thinking it's just that hard. Nope, exact same thing. I can't do anything. I finally win a game. I'm dominating chance after chance and finally come back down to 1 to get to 3-1 with shots 16-5 on a team that were early stage, so 84 was the top guy. With 10 seconds left in the third, I couldn't stop the guy again. Pokes aren't working. Hits. Chara hit a guy who was 77 overall AHL guy. I looked and he basically brushed it off and regained the puck. Weren't working, nothing, and he scores 2 to tie it in 10 seconds. I ended up barely winning an OT. This game must be tilted. It made 0 sense that I can sometimes do things and then bam, 2 goals in 10 seconds. Anyone else experiencing this? Okay. This is a tinfoil hat thing, but I've been playing this game since, I'm talking like early versus years, like 07 or 08, right? The last minute of periods, and specifically games, guys, you can't let shots go in. And if you are trying to tie it, you need to shoot everything. I am convinced that for a decade and a half, almost 2, that there is something that says, oh man, we can make this way more exciting if they score late. And they just, everything in the last minute gets crushed. And you have to just hold on to your butt. And I can't prove it, but I just think that that's always been there, and I operate like that. So if you are leading in the third period, you got to go into the offensive zone and just hope you can pass it around a bunch and generate a chance of your own. Because if you get into the defensive zone, almost any shot will go in, and you need to do everything you can to lay out in front of them. Hey, Sleeves, with how good the face-off event was, do you recommend people using pre-order points on packs? And if yes, which one would be best? I don't know which pack. If they do something once, they're going to do it again. So I would hazard a guess that there will be an event that gives you +4, +5, and whatever. I can say, however, that having as many face-off cards as you can will at least guarantee you the chance to get a +3 overall once the event is gone, because every one of those line combos has a face-off requirement, a face-off card, right? So that's why I'm saying getting Crosby is so important, because it is one of your only chances to make sure that you get a shot at a +6 overall once the event is done, right? Because they'll come out with more Americans, they'll come out with more American Golden Knights, or they'll do that. So yes, I'd probably do it. Hey slaves, love the videos in the channel. I think it's safe to say the issues with the HUD are very deep. Why is nobody talking about a huge issue with cards disappearing and randomly reappearing? I brought that up. Not just player cards, but I collected face-off collectibles to try and put them in the set. They weren't there. I refreshed the page and they disappear. So again, that's why I want to point these questions out. It's literally just like a data leak. Like your game is operating too fast for the cloud server or whatever it runs on to give you what you've earned, and you literally just have to wait. It will come in, and super annoying. Like, not. Ugh. Anyways, Hobby Stuff says, I still refuse to play online. Between the horrible internet connection I have, everyone's complaints about rewards, definitely not worth the stress. I almost throw my joysticks at the TV every time Cup Chase freezes. Not worth the stress. Still loving Cup Chase win with the names on the cup. They need to keep previous names on the cup, though. Every time you win, add oh, that's kind of an interesting way to go about it. Xbox users, I don't know what it is with the Xbox console and the NHL video game. Forever have had issues. Like, some people won't ever, but NAT issues, connectivity issues, the game just crashing, the freezes in Cup Chase, it appears to happen almost all on Xbox. I don't know what to tell you. You know, it just is what it is. Please explain to me the logic behind skating full tilt with truculence and laying a body check on someone who's holding the puck behind them, and I just get brushed off. This thing has been a thing for years and does not make a lick of sense. So, if you're using total controls, so you're using circle to hit, there's an animation that when you release the button, you have to be in the right spot. It's something that I struggled with because I, for whatever reason, can't ever time it right. How I would explain this is, if you're going to hit someone, don't ever try to do it on the side. Try and do it, like, I'm trying to explain. If the player is coming down the ice, it'd be like 4 o'clock. That's where I would, and if you can't get to 4 o'clock and you're going to go 3 o'clock, assume you're going to miss. What's up, sleeves? With this crazy new line combo, does this confirm that Season 2, you'll have to grind again? Also, is it worth it to burn your collection for this line combo? Also, Fantasy Couturier is a cheaper option for the McDavid Gartner line. People that have it. Competes with the OP one. I think. I mean, Fantasy Couturier is like 1 million coins, my dude. That's crazy. I don't know if that's a cheaper option. That being said, is it worth it to burn your collection? It's safer, right? Like, it's an event where you can get +6 overall. You can get +3 overall. There will probably be higher overall boost, but if you, for the next month, right, you've got an event that you know, if you have as many cards from the face-off event, you have multiple options and opportunities to get big lineup increases down for the rest of the season. That's going to do it for this episode of Coffee and Chel. Thank you guys again for hanging out. I'll be back tomorrow, so make sure you like the comments that you want to see answered the most. I always sort them by likes, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.